I don't know if you're out there listening, but we're going to go ahead and start. And we're having a little technical difficulties. This is our first hangout. So I'll go ahead and do it. And I'm going to give a class on Vata and Autumn. And then what you can do is you can pick this up on YouTube and you can make comments down there. And then if you can't get into me, you can leave comments and we can talk about it next week. Okay, so first I wanted to start this out really with a deep sense of gratitude that I'm getting to go live and teach, and we're going to get better and better at this as we go along. And like I said, you can always pick this up on YouTube afterwards and put your comments. So I want to just express my gratitude in any event that you're going to do in the Hindu system of Vedic sciences. You make your first offering of gratitude to Lord Ganesha, who dissolves all obstacles, even internet ones, and gives your project and your event success and charm. And so I give my deep gratitude to Lord Ganesha. Om Ganapatiye Namaha, Om Ganapatiye Namaha, Om Ganapatiye Namaha. Now, at the start of every event, we offer this gratitude to Lord Ganesha, and specifically today, because it's October 13th, and in the Hindu calendar, that's the day of victory. So if we start an event, so even if you start a diary today, or you write down a big idea, or you have a vision, today's that day of victory, and if you put that intention out into the beautiful oneness, then it will surely manifest. And that is the hope and belief of October 13th and Victory Day on the Hindu calendar. So I start this Google Hangout with that great belief and that strong knowingness that teaching Ayurveda, talking alternative medicine, talking NAET, having people come online and discuss their health and discuss their concerns about health, or their just things they want to talk about in terms of alternative health and Ayurveda. I'm opening this forum, and I hope to be doing it for years to come. So the first thing is I want to talk about actually what we're going to be doing next week. So next week, what we're going to do is we're going to keep going on about autumn and the effect of Vata on autumn. And specifically, I'm going to teach next week 8 things to avoid in autumn. I'm going to teach what's called Nasya, which is the nasal administration of medicine. I'm going to teach about the colors that pacify Vata, gemstones that pacify Vata dosha, fasting principles for autumn, and then I'm going to remind everyone to go to www.indigestionguru.com and sign up for the VataIndigestionGuru.com program. 30 weeks, $20 a week, and you don't pay all 30 weeks, and it gives you everything you can possibly want to know about pacifying Vata indigestion and eating during the autumn period. And so that, again, is www.indigestionguru.com. Okay, so that's my introduction, and now we're going to jump into talking about Vata season. So Vata season starts out with, now I've got to work a little bit at getting this on so that you can see it, and I can see it also. So this is Vata season. So for those of you who don't know Sanskrit and are uncomfortable with speaking Sanskrit, I just did a little bit of writing on these 5x7 cards that Craig so greatly got me. And I got to make a special thank you to Craig tonight, because he really helped us put this together and do this technical, and we'll get better at it. So Vata is the time of the year, and that time of the year is actually autumn, okay, autumn season. All right, so those of you who need to take notes about everything that I'm saying, you can always come back, because this is going to be on Google And you can come back in and take a look at the notes. So the core approach to living according to the seasons is to have seasonal regimens. So you got to understand what season it is. This is the Vata season, and it's autumn and winter. And the key way to keep your balance, Ayurvedically speaking, is to follow a seasonal routine. Now, the seasonal routine is based on the characteristics of the season. In autumn or Vata season, it's the dry season, okay? And the dry season has characteristics like light, cool, rough. Did I get that in there good? Okay. And windy. And what this provokes is it provokes a Vata imbalance. So it provokes a Vata imbalance during the Vata season. And a Vata imbalance means problems like more dryness in the body, really dry skin, constipation, insomnia, spikes in headaches, pain, and we'll talk about it later, receding gums. So the first recommendation is to go to indigestionguru.com and sign up for the 6 free newsletters or emails that explain further about Vata indigestion, and then sign up for the program. There's so many great recipes in there. There's a great conversations. It comes with a PDF and an audio. So autumn season brings us what's called the autumn regimen in Ayurveda. And the autumn regimen is basically that what you do from the time you wake up in the morning until the time you go to bed at night. So the first thing is you wake up before sunrise. And the reason you wake up before sunrise is because it's the quietest time. The sun isn't all the way up, so all the radiant energy from the sun isn't blocking the energy that comes in from the universe. And it's a time where you can meditate. The birds are quiet. There's a deep silence in the air. And it's the best time of the day to connect with your inner spirit and do your meditation or your prayers or just listen to the silence. Then we brush our teeth right after we get up, and we do it with a powder, an Ayurvedic powder. And this powder is just simple powder, and it's almond shells powder, licorice, haritaki, and a little mint. So haritaki, Haritaki, and a little mint. The next thing we do is scrape our tongue. Scrape our tongue. And the reason why we scrape our tongue, okay, we scrape our tongue. Why? Why would we do such a thing? We do it to remove the bacteria from the tongue and the bacterial growth. And what this does is an amazing thing that starts our day off, which is to stimulate the intestinal, I'm sorry, I can't even read my own writing here because it's backwards, but we stimulate the internal organs and the reflex points on the tongue. And there are 9,000 taste buds on the tongue. And so when we scrape the tongue, we're stimulating all the taste buds. And the taste buds includes sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. And that turns on all the different aspects of the brain that get turned on by those 6 tastes. And we'll be doing definitely a talk on the 6 tastes. So when we scrape the tongue, it also creates a gag reflex. So when we scrape the tongue, it creates a gag reflex. And what this does is something amazing and so important to do for emotional, healthy daily care. And what it does is it releases unresolved grief and anger and sadness. So when we scrape the tongue, it triggers the gag reflex, and that releases unresolved grief and sadness from the throat area. Next, what you do in the daily regimen for autumn is you take sesame oil and we swish it around the mouth and we hold it in the mouth for 2 minutes and then we spit it out. And what this does is it prevents receding gums, which is a common condition in autumn. And the reason it's a common condition in autumn is because autumn is the drying out time of the year. And the gums are all about having moisture in them. And so when we swish the sesame oil around, and then we can take our finger and go over all the gums, then what happens is that the gums absorb that extra oil and renew the tissue. And what that does is it helps build the gum tissue back and keep the fluid portion of the gums in the tissue instead of drying out. So if you already have receding gums, or you're a person that when you brush your teeth, your gums bleed, you definitely need to do this, and especially in the autumn. So then the next thing you do is you gargle with harataki tea. Okay, I'm sure you're asking, well, how do you make harataki tea? What is harataki tea? Well, you can get harataki from calling the office, and we can send you a bag of harataki tea very easily. The office number is 707-527-7313. Now, what you do with this or you can get harataki online, and you could buy a whole pound of it. If you want to start out with just a little bit, then you can call the office, and we can send you a good month amount or even 2-week amount, and you can test it out. And if you like it and you feel it's a good thing for you, then and you can handle the astringent taste of harataki tea, then you can buy a pound, and you can get it at the Bazaar of India or Banyan Botanicals. There's lots of places to get, or even Amazon. What you do, because everybody's going to ask, how do you make harataki tea? You steep 1 teaspoon of harataki tea in 1 cup of hot water. So you steep 1 teaspoon of harataki tea in 1 cup of hot water. I'm sorry I'm not getting your connection, because it was supposed to be a live hangout. So maybe Craig is working on that. And if he's not working on it, I'm sure he is working on it. And next time we'll have it figured out. But in the meantime, this will be on YouTube. So we take this 1 cup of hot water, boiling hot water, and 1 cup of harataki powder, and we steep it for 10 minutes. Easy. And then what we do is we do the normal thing you do with tea, is you strain it and cool it. Now, let me tell you a little bit about harataki. It's a beautiful, incredible food. It's simply a fruit. It's not even an herb. So you can't overdo it. So harataki is simply a fruit. And what it does is, when you take this harataki tea, it promotes healthy saliva, which is super important. I mean, if you're a person like, for example, who would have dry mouth, or you have something called Sjogren's syndrome, which causes dry mouth, This is a very important thing to do. If you want to prevent dry mouth and prevent Sjogren's and prevent other kinds of oral hygiene kinds of problems, then you want to use Harataki tea. So it promotes healthy saliva. It also kills germs. Okay? It kills germs in the mouth. Harataki tea is a beautiful antibacterial. And it removes toxins. So if you're having bad breath problems, then Harataki tea is just an absolutely important thing to do every day. So easy, you get used to it. It's bitter, it's astringent, it's a kind of a bitter sour fruit, but once you get used to it, it really makes a healthy mouth. It removes toxins. It also cleans the gums, the teeth, and the tongue. So it cleanses the teeth, the gum, and the tongues. Now what you do is, after you've done this gargle with the Harataki tea, then you drink the rest of the Harataki tea, which helps cleanse the intestines and stimulates what's called Apanavayu. Apanavayu is the reflex that comes from the nervous system that triggers a forceful downward movement that creates a bowel movement. It also, it's a forceful downward movement from the belly button to the anus. And it helps cleanse the intestines, it stimulates Apanavayu, and it helps cleanse the colon. I'm being attacked by my cat at this moment, but we'll see if I can keep him off of here. And that's him making all that noise. So the next thing we do is we do alternate breathing. Alternate breathing. Okay, alternate breathing is very common. It's talked about. It's all over the YouTube. There are many YouTube. If you just type in alternate breathing or pranayama, you would get some great demonstrations of alternate breathing. Alternate breathing, the Sanskrit name for alternate breathing is pranayama. Let me put that up together really nice. Pranayama. And why you do alternate breathing is because you want to reduce the stress in the nervous system. So let's just say you're stressed out. You've been working a lot. You're working on a big project like we've been working on, getting ready for our live hangout, which didn't work out, and we're not having a live hangout. So, but you've been working a lot. You have a lot of projects. You've got a lot of things going on. You go to sleep. You have insomnia. You have a little constipation, and you feeling a little anxiety. You waking up in a state of fight or flight. That means you have stress in your nervous system. When you do pranayama, when you get up in the morning as a part of your normal regimen, it's going to help you relieve that stress so that you're a more clear and alert person. And this is really the core power of Ayurveda. And that core power is that it's not waiting until you get sick. It's introducing a daily regimen that constantly is restoring the wear and tear of a busy life. So that's why you would do pranayama. The next thing you do is something called namaskar. Namaskar would be the yoga for the day, and it would be another way of saying sun salutation. Now, in another video, hangout, what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you about Namaskar, and I am going to let you download a wonderful PDF so that you'll have instructions for it. So that's Namaskar, the yoga for the day. Now, autumn can bring many different symptoms because it has a drying effect on the body. And those different symptoms we have to be ready for, and we have to know about those. And they're the autumn symptoms. And one of the autumn symptoms is that people get cracking joints. So I get in my office during the whole, about 2 weeks into August, people will start to get autumn symptoms: drying skin, overheated, and cracking joints. And so there are many different symptoms that come in the autumn that get aggravated, and I've talked about some of them, and cracking joints is another one. Now we're going to go into what do we do about this. We follow the daily regimen. That's number one. Now the next thing is, what foods do we eat during autumn? Okay, so we want to go over the autumn foods. Okay, so foods for autumn are called Vata pacifying foods. And the first thing we want to do in autumn is we want to have a breakfast. It's very important to have a breakfast because autumn is the Vata time of the year. The Vata time of the year is the correlate to the nervous system. So the nervous system gets drier during autumn. So during autumn, we're more prone to nervous system kinds of disorders like tics, tremors, cracking joints, insomnia, headaches, constipation, anxiety. So the number one way to start out your eating for the day in the Vata daily regimen is a grounding breakfast. How do we have a grounding breakfast? We eat oatmeal if you like it. Another choice we have is cream of wheat. The cream of wheat. If you're not gluten intolerant, cream of wheat. Now my favorite is quinoa. Quinoa. Now the reason why my favorite is quinoa is because quinoa does not have any gluten. It's protein, and it's a grain that is protein. And so quinoa breakfast, and you can do many quinoa breakfasts, and I would recommend Dr. Vasant Lad's book, which is Healing Foods by Vasant Lad and his wife Usha Lad, and you can get that on Amazon. So what about lunch during autumn? Well, lunch basically is cooked food, and rice, veg, chicken, fish, and we'll talk about what kinds of vegetables in a minute. But basically, a cooked lunch is the best lunch during autumn, and rice and veg are at the core of it. And of course, the meats are chicken or turkey or fish. But you want to reduce raw vegetables especially during the autumn, because autumn is drying and raw vegetables are rough. So autumn has a rough characteristic to it, so you wouldn't want to eat more raw vegetables, so you're having more rough. You want to have more lubricating, softer foods during the autumn. So the really great foods for the autumn are the root vegetables, but not white potatoes. That's an absolute no-no during the autumn, because white potatoes are a nightshade, and nightshades have solanese, and they're a neurotoxin. So you wouldn't want to take a drying neurotoxin during the nervous time of the year. But a great food would be rutabagas, and rutabagas are amazing. They're so fibrous, they're so high in minerals, and you can have a fun time looking up on the internet about all the minerals in rutabagas, and rutabagas are a great autumn food. You can get them in Safeway. You can get organic in Safeway. You can get them at Whole Foods. You can get at your local community market. You can get them at your farmers markets. They're so good. And then parsnips. Parsnips are so wonderful. They taste so delicious. You can bake them with olive oil in like Le Creuset, the wonderful pots that you can buy at Whole Foods and other places. And you put in the rutabagas. Now rutabagas you should cut to about 1 inch, a little bit less than 1 inch. And parsnips you can cut more like 2 inches. And then beets, depending on how big they are, but I like them bite size. And then the best dessert for the season, autumn season, and also food is pumpkin. You can have pumpkin curry. Oh my gosh, it's so delicious. And of course, my favorite, pumpkin pie. Now, if you, okay, if you suffer from nervous anxiety sometime during the year. If you suffer in the summertime, if you suffer in the springtime, if you suffer in the wintertime, then you have a Vata imbalance. If you struggle with constipation in any season, then you have a Vata imbalance. If you suffer with insomnia, but it gets worse during the autumn time, then you have a Vata imbalance. If you have a fast metabolic rate, meaning that you can eat anything and you don't gain weight, you're more on the skinny side of being a skinny person, then you're a Vata. You have a lot of Vata. If you're a person, it's hard to gain weight. If it's hard to gain weight, okay, that means that you're a predominantly Vata. If you're over 57 years of age, then that means you're going into the Vata cycle of life. As in when you're 60 to 65 to 70, your joints start drying out. Things start getting stiffer. That's the Vata cycle of life. If you're any of those, then autumn, okay, calls for a short nap after lunch. Isn't that a great idea? Just a short nap after lunch. And then you'll be much more effective for your 2 to 6 period and have a much longer and much more productive day, actually. And why would you take a nap after in the eating? Because taking a nap calms Vata down. Okay, so as I said, next time we're coming up to 6:26 and we're almost finishing my 30 minutes. So next time what we're going to talk about is things to avoid in the autumn. Things to avoid in the autumn. Like, I'm going to give you just a little preview so you don't do this all week long. Avoid drying foods. Avoid drying foods. Like, you say to yourself, okay, Helen, what do you mean drying foods? Like popcorn. Avoid popcorn for autumn. Unless you're going to put a lot of butter on it and not yeast. And a lot of butter until it's really soaking in butter. And it's really not the best food to eat. Dry crackers. Okay? And just a little tip that during the Vata time, the best thing to do is to have hot milk at the end of the day. Now, if you don't drink milk, okay, then you either can have almond milk, cashew milk, you can have, but not soy milk. Ayurveda doesn't recommend that, or goat milk. Or a lot of people who don't drink milk, I find that if I tell them to take 1/4 of a cup of milk and put in 3/4 of a cup of hot water, 1/4 of a cup of milk that's hot, and then 3/4 of a cup of hot water, and then put in a little saffron and drink that before you go to bed at night. Milk is slimy. Autumn is dry. When you take hot milk before you go to bed at night, it soaks your nerves and it heals them from the wear and tear of the dryness for the day, and then you go to sleep, and then sleep makes the body bring more nourishment in because more lubrication, and it has a really deep healing effect on the wear and tear. So unfortunately we didn't have I was looking so forward to having a conversation with everybody, but technology was smarter than us this time. So next time, please don't give up on me, because we're going to be here again at 6 o'clock next Sunday, and we are going to be not only live, but we are going to be able to get your comments and talk to you live. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I am so glad that I get this chance to start Ayurveda Live with Dr. Helen Thomas on October 13th, Victory Day, and victory for you. Okay, bye. Thanks so much for coming.